Next to a quiet lake sits the University of Wisconsin-Madison campus. In one of the buildings is the Weizmann Center, a center advancing knowledge of human development, developmental disabilities, and neurodegenerative diseases. Inside the center, a man sits in a lab. Ideas swirl. Inside his brain are around 100 billion neurons that are firing off connections and synapses. These synapses excite the man to no end because he has just discovered that he and his team have done something revolutionary. They have just developed the first 3D printed brain tissue that displays the ability to function, grow, and connect like typical human brain cells. The man's name is Yuan Wei Yan, and he is a scientist at the Zhang Lab at University of Wisconsin-Madison, working with Su-Chun Zhang, who heads up the lab. Welcome to Future Scout. Today, we're talking about how 3D brains are a thing and will revolutionize neuroscience. Let's dive in. The human brain is a vast web of nearly 100 billion neurons. This is an unfathomable number that parallels the amount of stars in the galaxy. Neurons are informational messengers that leverage electrical and chemical signals to convey information across different areas of the brain, spinal cord, and the entire body. To put it simply, neurons are electrical impulses that are the main components of nervous tissue in most all animals. So how did Zhang, Yan, and the rest of their team 3D print this tissue? The team started by using stem cells and helping start their development into different types of brain cells. They mixed these stem cells with a hydrogel that helped create a printable bioink that could be used with a 3D bioprinter. Rather than stacking the layers vertically like most 3D printers do, the team took a different approach. They decided to print the stem cell-infused bioink in thin strips adjacent to each other. This allowed the bioink strips to stand at just 50 micrometers tall. This incredibly imperceptible height ensured that the neurons within the gel got the oxygen and nutrients they needed once they started forming. What happened next was the formation of natural connections between the cells. Different cell types in different layers were able to send signals to one another, forming networks that are nearly indistinguishable from the ones seen in human brain tissue. According to Zhang, this was special because the tissue had enough structure to hold together, but was still soft enough for the neurons to grow into each other and start communicating. Even when the team printed different cells that are from different regions of the brain, they were still able to communicate in specific ways. These 3D printed brain organoids were created with a technique that is very simple and easy to replicate in other labs. While Zhang and his team hopes that the research will advance the human understanding of how brain cells communicate, the implications are vast for the fields of stem cell biology, neuroscience, and the development of neurological and psychiatric disorders. The critical aspect to note about the brain is that it operates in networks, and without taking a holistic approach to these networks and analyzing them, research will often miss critical components. Making 3D printed brain tissue accessible for the broader research community will have far-reaching ripples that will likely have enormous impacts on scientific knowledge of the brain and these disorders. But how will this help exactly? The answers lie in what we currently know about neurological conditions. Some of the most common neurological conditions are epilepsy, Alzheimer's, and strokes. Parkinson's disease and dementia are also neurological and commonly found in the elderly. In fact, according to the World Health Organization, hundreds of millions of people worldwide suffer from a neurological disorder. By having access to 3D printed brain tissue, researchers will be able to conduct many experiments that should lead to promising outcomes. For example, a 2017 study at the University of Southern California found that a combination of high blood pressure and decreased blood flow inside the brain may cause the buildup of various harmful plaques. These plaques are called beta amyloid, and their accumulation typically signals the beginning of dementia or Alzheimer's. By studying amyloid interaction with 3D printed brain tissue, scientists can determine exactly how to deal with this waste buildup without affecting brain neurons. Imagine a world where a diagnosis of a neurological disorder requires a routine prescription to fix. For many people, this would turn an inevitable cognitive decline into a mere inconvenience that is fixed by a trip to the doctors. There is also the possibility of attacking tricky disorders, such as ataxia, which is the lack of voluntary coordination of muscle movements. Friedreich's ataxia is the most commonly presented symptom, where the subject shows gait abnormality while walking. Ataxia is a complex neurological condition with various underlying causes ranging from a hereditary disorder to radiation poisoning or Wilson's disease, which causes the accumulation of copper in the nervous system. While ataxia is treatable, it is unlikely to be fully cured. Patients typically undergo a customized treatment plan, and typically physical therapy is involved. But by using 3D printed brain tissue, this complex neurological disorder may have its days numbered. If scientists are able to successfully navigate printing neurons in such a way that allows them to conduct worthwhile experiments, we may start seeing enormous strides towards neurological developments. Disorders can be routinely experimented against once their root causes are identified and able to be isolated alongside this 3D printed brain organoid. This is where collective optimism should be placed. Seeing as neurological conditions are originated at the brain, conducting clinical trials and analysis of anything related to the brain often takes a heavy ethical consideration, as well as incredible time and resources. With this novel 3D printing approach, access to brain tissue will likely be democratized across the globe in many different labs, ushering in a new race to uncover exactly how to deal with the medical issues that plague hundreds of millions of people around the world. And it all starts with some stem cells, some hydrogel, and a 3D bioprinter next to a lake in Wisconsin. Thank you for watching Future Scout. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment so we can continue to bring you the latest in scientific advancements. We'll see you next time.